All right, everybody, welcome to the DealGen podcast, where we talk to investors, entrepreneurs, and business titans about a wide range of topics and experiences. The DealGen podcast is brought to you by DealGen Partners. DealGen Partners is the leading deal origination service on the market for private equity buyers. DealGen Partners combines their M&A and private equity experience with a proprietary method of multi-channel marketing services that they call the Bird Dog. This unique recipe generates transaction ready deals at an unmatched pace and increases a private equity fund's chances of closing a deal by up to 10x. Reach out to DealGen Partners before you begin searching for your next investment. So I wanted to come on here and share an experience I had recently. I was fortunate enough and very grateful for the experience that I was able to have lunch with a legitimate billionaire last week. So I went to New York City, took the train, booked out a couple other meetings for the day, just so I was able to keep busy throughout the entire trip. But in the middle of it, I got to sit down with someone who I would consider um, incredibly powerful and successful person who legitimately was worth over $1 billion personally. And I learned a lot from the experience, and I want to touch on kind of four key things that I took away from this experience myself. So, one number one was that he was a quick and actionable study of who I was and what I did. So as soon as we kind of sat down and got to know each other a little bit, he started asking questions about my background and what I'm working on now. And all of the questions were the right type of questions. And wasn't asking me why we were doing certain things, wasn't necessarily going out of his way to give unsolicited advice, just asking the right type of questions to quickly get to what he wanted to know about me. And he probably had a preconceived notion of, hey, we're going to approach this meeting with the goal of getting this information out of Joe. And so he did so in a very quick and concise way, so that he could perceive, okay, this is who you are and what you do, and this is how maybe we can work together. Secondly, he was in town for 2 days, and throughout the 2 days, he booked himself pretty solid. And what I took away from that is, these guys, these people, when they get to a certain level, time obviously is money, but time is, also their most precious resource, right? So they spend time not only going from meeting to meeting and figuring out how they can do business, but also spending time doing the things they like to do. This individual was doing business meetings during the day, not necessarily partying, but going out and enjoying himself afterwards, going out to nice dinners, going to events, but made sure that that 2 days that he was in town was packed, and there was no time wasted. It was a very efficient schedule, so he could go from place to place quickly. It wasn't like one meeting was on one side of town, the other meeting he had to get in the car and drive 2 hours through New York City traffic. It was very condensed and well thought out, and I think there's a lot to take away from that. Number three was that he treated me like we were on the same level. And by no means, were we at the place we're at in each other's lives, but the conversation was just very candid. It was very much, getting to know each other. Like two people who, you got paired up playing golf with someone on a Sunday afternoon, and you're just trying to get to know who each other are and what you do, and make friends, because you're there to not only enjoy a meal together, but also get to know a little bit about each other personally, and then a little bit about each other from a business standpoint, and how can we work together. And so he treated me like we are on the same level. Very very much a normal interaction, very much a normal person. If I didn't know what I knew about him prior to meeting this individual, then I would have never known anything about how much money or success he's had. Did not give that away. Was very grounded and down to earth, and I thought that was just the coolest thing in the world, because to me, someone who's achieved that level of success in business is an icon of mine. But when you met him, it was just a very normal experience, and it was like talking to an old friend. And then lastly, number four, he was genuinely curious about what I did and how we could work together. So, like I said at the beginning, he took actionable steps to figure out who I was and ask, calculated questions and the right questions, and then showed genuine curiosity in what we did, and a lot of the time people approach conversations with someone who's younger than them or maybe less experienced with them in a way where it's like, I'm going to listen to this person and I'm going to give them my unsolicited kind of personal advice. And for someone like this, if they were to give me advice and offer it, I'm all ears. Please, by any means, chime in and advise me on what I may be doing or what I could do differently. But in this instance, there was none of that. It was very much listening, asking questions, genuinely curious about how we were able to, create our business and where we were taking it. And then the whole conversation was just around what could we do together after that. So it wasn't, hey, if you change this, this, and this, I could see your business going this way. Or if you guys only, if only you were doing these things, or if only you had these certain compliances, then maybe we could work together. The whole conversation was around, hey, how can I, you know, benefit from what you're doing and how could you benefit from what I'm doing and how can we work out a way, strategically to work together. And so when we left the lunch, we kind of outlined what that looked like throughout the end of it. And then the biggest thing that stuck out was, within an hour of meeting, I had an email in my inbox from this individual saying, great to get to know you, great to meet you. Here's the things we talked about. Here's the next steps. I'd like to get on a call next week and continue to go through it. So it was just, taking action. I mean, these people, he didn't waste any time. He was just there, not necessarily to sell me on anything, but there to learn about what we do, see if it fits together, and then try it and test it immediately. Wasn't afraid of, hey, but what if it doesn't work? That's not a question that ever came up. It was, let's try it, figure out what may or may not be working, and then double down on what is going to work. And so overall, I mean, the experience is incredible. And one thing that I tried to do throughout it is, like I said, number three, he treated me like we were on the same level. I approached the conversation, approached the whole interaction as if we were too. You know what I mean? So I didn't go in to this conversation thinking, you know, this is an idol and I was starstruck by who this person was or what they were able to achieve. I went in, thinking, hey, this is just another person. After work, we both sit on the couch and watch TV and scroll our phones. And, we both share the same interest when it comes to maybe watching sports. And so I'm going to talk to them just like I would talk to one of my friends. Now, I'm going to ask them, I'm going to do my homework and ask them questions that are relevant and try to take the same actionable approach and say, hey, this is what I do. This is what you do. Maybe this is how we can collaborate. But at the same time, I didn't want to go into it asking for anything specific at all. I didn't want to go into it, approaching them from like a, how can you just give me all this advice on how I can become you approach? It was just, hey, I know I haven't achieved what you've achieved in business yet. I know I'm, younger than you and have less experience, but that doesn't mean that we can't operate together on the same level and that we can't, accomplish things together. So that's the approach I took. And I think that, I'm happy I did. One thing I took away from it is like, I thought I definitely held my own within the conversation and, didn't let the entirety of it, kind of get in the way of what I was also there to achieve, which was just to make a relationship, and at the end of it, I mean, I think there's a good chance that we do end up doing some business together. I'm really excited about where the opportunity brought me and where it's going to bring hopefully DealGen partners. And I just wanted to share this with because I was very fortunate to have this experience. It's my first time probably sitting down with someone who has achieved that level of business success. But at the end of the day, it was a very rewarding, humbling, kind of just cool experience that I thought I would share some of my takeaways from. So appreciate you guys listening.